still makes me burn to tell the story of the 2 bottles in the riverside, so you'll see how close I felt to Tom, because I did tell him. The incident I'm referring to was over 9 years in the past, but I still got hot in the face. We slept in the same bed like we had since I'd fled the house, unsexually, 2 sausages in a casserole. The next day we wandered around with the first signs of flu, looking for a roast dinner and talking about everything. It seemed like it was only with Tom that she stayed out of it. He knew about my lack of relationships, where I'd grown up, every mucky secret of my historical blandness, but I'd never told him this particular tale before now. The tale of the 2 bottles in the riverside goes something like this. Once upon a time there was a beautiful princess who was locked in a terraced house in the home counties, and one day she escaped and fled to the reedy city of Manchester, and she found herself a flat to live in and a job, and she had been chosen to read the books of her land with others as clever as her, because she was so clever. All set up in her new palace, the princess looked around for a prince to ride in and save her from her boring, sterile self, but none came. But the princess was patient and she waited. And while she was waiting, she discovered the magic of alcohol and how it made the princess so much better able to talk to her subjects. And the princess never missed a Wednesday night at the venue just in case, even when she had tonsillitis, and spent the night lying on a bench with her golden head in the lap of her loyal and tough as boots lady-in-waiting. It was at the venue that the princess encountered the first of the 2 bottles, and indeed the second. The first bottle was the least bad of the 2. I was standing by the bar with Clementine, and this awful fucker was cracking onto me. He just wouldn't leave me to it, and even Clem was finding him irritating. She hissed in my ear, "Just turn round," in keeping with her own public abrasiveness, and I did it. But of course this makes the fucker worse. "Not very friendly, are you?" he goes, and tries to shunt himself between me and Clementine. I'm unsure to this day of whether that comment was aimed at me or her, but she did tend to attract those nasty jibes, poor old Clementine. The thing is, the shunting doesn't work, because she with her painted claws, all those hard plastic rings digging into my skin, has grabbed hold of my wrist and is not letting me move, or let him get in between us, making some kind of point. Girl fucking power. Don't let a plaster get a place at the bar, that would be the worst thing ever. But the trouble is that what this does, because he's pissed and an unrelenting arsehole, is just make him push harder, and he's twice as strong as me, and maybe 150% stronger than Clementine, and about half as strong as her feminist resolve. But he's also out of control of his body and flailing all over the place, and so his arm goes up and, accidental as you like, the butt of his bottle of Beck's goes crack into the back of my head. At about the same time, I've managed to wriggle myself out of Clementine's vice hold and turn back for the dance floor. I feel his Beck splash all over me, but it doesn't matter because I'm wearing a see-through lace dress over pink underwear and jeans, and that's okay, and means something else in the sweet 90s trash world. I start to dance, and James Kennedy's there, and it isn't really a surprise that he doesn't smile back, because he never does. "You're bleeding," says he, and he's looking, I know, horrified not for me, but at me. I touch the wet curling between my little boobs and look at the claret that comes back on my hand. The fucker cut himself when he stumbled against me, and it's all over me. Blood, not Beck's. "Wash this off now." "It's okay," I shout to James Kennedy over the music, and the bodyguard having been out on video not so many years before. "It's not me." "It is you," he says horrified, again at and not for. "It isn't me, I can't feel any pain." A doctor tells me years later, and another less nice one tells me in a few hours, that heads bleed far worse than the injury actually warrants. I put my finger up where I can now feel something like a bump, and my finger, swear to God, slides into my head. There's a feeling of popping and a whole new torrent of blood gushes out of me and down around my neck onto my clothes. And this again is all real. Clementine storms onto the dance floor. "What happened?" she demands of JK. "She's bleeding," he says. "She's got blood on her hands." "I can see that," shrieks Clementine. "What happened?" At the same time as trying not to faint, he's wordlessly trying to protest his non-involvement, and I love Clementine more than ever and hate him. Clementine tries to take me into the toilet to clean off the blood, and if I'd just walked a little bit faster I'd have been fine. Cleaned it off, held the Wodger Boggy on the wound for a few minutes, then crept out unnoticed once the DJ put on a Charlatans or a Republica. I'd have had the same scab and the same scar and the same bollocking from Clementine in the morning, but I'd have had a good night's sleep and not been made to feel like a hypochondriac in A&E. As it is, the bouncers get to us just before the toilet door, and I get dragged into a private room, and my head gets wrapped with a ridiculous bandage, and I get bullied into complicity with a wasted ambulance to the MRI, where I'm berated by a doctor 2 years older than me for needlessly coming in. At first light, we got the bus back to Fallowfield, me in my red acrylic fur coat and the black lace thing all covered in dry blood, and lovely Mr. Taylor from Taylor's expressed a lot of concern and didn't call me a nutter or a waste of student or anything like that. I stayed in Clementine's halls because she thought I might have some delayed concussive fit, and she made me sleep on the floor. So much for the first bottle. The second bottle in the Riverside were worse. Thank you very much.